am constantly amazed by how little I actually understand children's brains. Putting my 7-year-old to bed last night, and as many of you know, I ask her every night, what do you want to talk about, as a way to sort of wind down from the day. And for the past few weeks, it's been pretty mundane stuff, right? Like, Dad, you put too much garlic salt on the pasta. Thank you so much for the feedback. But last night, if you're a parent, then you know the feeling of seeing your child like about to break down. And she starts telling me about her two really good friends at school. Now, recently, there is another kid that has been joining them and playing with them. And she sort of like covers her face, right, as she's telling me this. And she's like, I'm not jealous, but, and then she just kind of like trailed off, right? Just kept saying that over and over again, right? Like, I'm not jealous. And I was like, you can tell me, right? Like, what are you feeling? Very clear that she didn't really like have the words to verbalize how she was feeling. And so I was like, well, okay, are you worried that they're not going to want to be friends with you anymore because they're going to be friends with this new kid? He was like, no. And I don't even know why, but I was like, are you worried that there's not enough friendship for the four of you? Immediate tears. And I was like, okay, you know how your mom and I have 3 kids? Were you worried that when we had the second kid or the third kid that we were going to love you less? And she goes, yeah. And I said, did we? And she goes, no. And I grabbed her 2 favorite stuffed animals that she sleeps with every night. They're identical twin dogs. And I was like, do you love both Cocos the same? She says, yeah. Like, okay, well, if you only had one Coco, would you love that Coco more than you do right now? And she was like, no. And I was like, well, yeah, because you can't imagine loving it more than you do, right? I had this a brilliant epiphany that I thought in my brain where I was like, I got this. And I was like, sweetie, love is not a finite resource. But she was like, I don't know what that means. Okay. You know, when we get a pizza and there's only 8 slices, love is not that, right? Love is the opposite. It's like a pizza with as many slices as possible. And obviously she was like, oh, I'm into it now. Honestly, almost ended it there because it had clearly clicked. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna take this a little bit further. I was like, that's how all of our emotions are, right? Like there's no limit to what we can feel, and there's no definition for how much we're allowed to feel. Whether it's happiness or sadness or frustration or anything. And at this point, her eyes are lit up. We ended up talking for like 15 more minutes about the most random things. As I walked out of her room, honestly feeling really good about myself, right? I was like, I wonder, like, I remember having very similar conversations about love growing up, but I don't remember ever having that same conversation about other emotions. That we are allowed to feel as happy as we want and show that happiness, or that we're allowed to grieve as much as we want and show that grief. So often we're told that we're only allowed to feel something for a short period of time, and then we just need to magically move on. I walked out of the room, I was wondering if, like, is that a product of being told as kids that we're too emotional, or too upset, or too loud, or too exuberant? If it's because we're told as kids that our emotions have a shelf life and that we should only have so many to go around. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely think there's value in telling kids that they won't always feel this way, right? That there's a light at the end of the proverbial tunnel. Like, I also can't stop thinking if that also tells kids that there is not enough space in the world for what they're feeling. Like, there's not enough space in the world for that much emotion, which, if you're an emotionally intelligent or aware child, you are probably going to internalize as there is not enough space in the world for that much you. Ooh, I caught myself off guard there. So if that's true, then that means that when we're told that, we probably never learn to actually work through the entire range of our emotions until they're actually over. But instead, we probably just learn to hide them in order to make other people around us happier. And that is currently all I can think about this morning, is just wondering if we had more conversations about that, then maybe we would have more positive mental health outcomes as adults. Anyway, that was a heck of a Thursday night, now Friday morning, and now I just currently want an infinite pizza. So I'm gonna go see if I can get one of those. Goodbye.